County School. She's a graduate of Booker T. Washington High, and she attended MIAMI-DADE Community College and the University of Miami. She's been a reporter with Miami Herald since 1970 and was promoted to columnist in 1982. Her columns were nominated for the Pulitzer Prize in 1983, and she won the Dr. Martin Luther King Freedom Award given by the International Women's League for Peace and Freedom. I'm sure you've all seen Bea Hines' column in the paper, and we're very happy to have her serve as our moderator this afternoon. Please welcome Bea Hines.
Thank you. Good afternoon. You will have to excuse any mistakes that I might make because this is my first time being a moderator for anything. I have been many times a panelist on workshops, but I have not, this is the first time I've been a moderator, so we're doing this by trial and error. We're going to talk to you about what we do at our jobs. Many of you have seen my stories in the paper, and you've seen these beautiful young people who are seated with me on television. And maybe some of you are not quite sure just what it is we do when we say we are reporting the news or bringing to you what is happening in our community. Today you're going to have the opportunity to hear firsthand from some of our most talented black journalists in this area. Talented journalists, pardon me, black or white, in this area. And in South Florida and in the entire South, I'd like to say, I'm proud to say. And I'm going to start by introducing you to JOYCE Evans, and you will see that none of them will have to put glasses on for me. I think I'm the senior person up here. JOYCE Evans has been a reporter for Channel 6 News for 2 years. She's an anchor reporter. She was an anchor reporter for WSET TV for 2 years. She has worked for Sheridan Broadcasting, the Mutual Black Network, for 2.5 years, and she doesn't look old enough to have all this experience. And she's a 1978 graduate of FAMU. Was born in Washington, D.C. Please welcome JOYCE Evans. To my left, we have the very pretty DENISE White, who did not bring me any information, but I'm sure you all will recognize her. She gives us the early morning news on Channel 7. I don't know how many of you watch Channel 7. Very early news on the Today Show, Channel 7. She's the smiling face that you see, and she's been at Channel 7 how many years now? For 3 years. For 3 years, and when she has her turn to talk, she will tell you a little bit more about herself. DENISE White. And to my immediate left, my far left, if I were young, I would give all the young women a run for their money. He is Dwight Lauderdale, who is co-anchor of the Channel 10 Eyewitness Newscast. See what he does to me at 12:30. He's also a regular contributor to the 5:30 and the 6 p.m. news programs, where his follow-up reports and letters to eyewitness news segments are a familiar and much watched part of the eyewitness news. His first job in broadcasting at the ABC station in Columbus, Ohio, saw the 17-year-old high school junior doing everything from processing black and white film to news writing, news producing, and substituting for news and sports talents on the air. In 1973, Dwight graduated cum laude from the Ohio University with a degree in communications. Dwight joined the WPLG news team in 1976. He has been commended and praised for his incisive reporting during the 1980 riots. During the 1980 riots, his live reports on the threat of Hurricane David, and was awarded a South Florida Emmy for hosting and producing the WPLG Special South Florida Radio Wars which aired in the fall of 1984. These are new glasses.
Again, I'm one of more than 80 people involved in putting together the newscast. Over my 16 plus years, I think, something like that. Yeah, 16 will be 17 in November. I've done everything from, I've served as a photographer, much like the young man we see in front of us. I learned to report, obviously, learned to write, and I've anchored. I haven't regretted a day of the decision to move to Miami. Basically, I was chasing the sun, and I found it.
Well, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me preface my speech by apologizing in a sense because I may be slurring a few words. I am wearing braces, of all things, for a broadcaster. Have been for a couple of months now. The silver wire across the front that you might notice I don't wear on the air. I can take that out, but the orthodontist says you must wear it when you're off the air, so hence I am here, feeling very embarrassed because I have a mouthful of silver. However, I will go on having said all that. Since you didn't find out very much about me, I'll start by talking about myself as well. I come from a place called Chesapeake, Virginia, which is a very small, very rural area in Virginia. I attended Virginia Commonwealth University, which is in Richmond, capital of Virginia, majored in mass communications and political science. I always wanted to be a journalist ever since high school. However, I didn't really sort of come to grips with it and get any real direction until college. When I was in high school, and this is for the benefit of younger people out there, when I was in high school, I was in a lot of forensic tournaments and doing a lot of public speaking and debating, and was also very political in high school. So when it came time to choose a career, I started to look at what I thought that I did best and try to match that up with what I like to do a lot, and came up with broadcast journalism. So after a 4-year stint in college, the university recommended me for my first job, which turned out to be a radio job in Charlottesville, Virginia. Worked there for less than a year. In this business, once you get started, you move rather quickly. Glad he's later than me.
I want to thank you for bailing me out.
I really appreciate it. So, the point being to be very much in touch and involved in what's going on, because we have a tremendous responsibility, and I would like to challenge you to hold us accountable to the community that we serve. We constantly say that. We call ourselves comprehensive news coverage. We call ourselves your hometown station. You know, we do all sorts of things, but unless you really make us accountable to it, who's to say? We say, but I think you are the ones who should say. Now, the process you go through to hold us accountable. Well, why don't you just start with the assignment editor? Every station has one. The assignment editor is responsible for, largely responsible for, what is going to be covered that day on the evening news, on the noon show, and the morning show.
Well, thank you, Denise. We were joined by Ed O'Dell, but I won't bother to introduce him. We'll just pass it on, and when Mike is in front of Ed, and he will tell you about himself and also about what he does at Channel 4.
Good afternoon.
My background is a little different from Denise's and Dwight's. I was a militant teenager growing up in the early 70s, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I grew up in Washington, D.C. I knew I wanted to learn, but I didn't know what, so I just took everything. I started out in an Upward Bound program at Howard University, and they gave us just about anything you can imagine. That's when they had money for it. Now there's not much money for those programs. There was one deal with that university that if we started out there, you would get, while you were in high school, you go half of the day in college and half of the day in high school, and when you finished 12th grade, you would promise to go to Howard University. Well, I didn't particularly care for their mass communications program because there was so much white, there were so many people in there, you'd never get a chance to touch the equipment until you were a junior or senior. So I decided to look elsewhere, and FAMU had a brand new program. Well, I wasn't sure I wanted to do that either. I was looking at their pre-med program. I wanted to be a doctor of all things. How did I end up here? It's amazing. So FAMU had an excellent pre-med program. So I started out in the pharmacy department, and 2 days in there I decided this is not what I'm going to do. So I took up all the electives that you must take to make the school make money in the state. And at the end of my sophomore year, my advisor said, look, you've taken all the electives. What are you going to be? And I didn't know. So I said, well, you got until 4:30. Come back here and tell me what your major is going to be. So I was lost. I didn't know what to do. So I walked around campus and I said hi to all my friends, everybody back from the summer. And I said, listen, what do you think I should be? This is a true story. And said, well, I don't know. What can you do? I said, well, and we went down the list. I was good in English. I was good in oral speaking. I was good in, I liked to read. So they said, well, FAMU has a brand new journalism department. Go over there, and they've got money too. So go over there. So I walked around, and 3 people told me that. So I went to the journalism department. I had no idea what journalism was all about. I knew it was writing, and I knew it was reading, and I knew you had to speak well, but I didn't know what was all I had to do. So I went over there, and they had scholarship money, and I got it. So I started out. The next semester, I got a job in radio, which surprised me. I didn't know why they hired me, but I worked there, and then it was program after program. And Tallahassee at that time didn't have any that we should know about. And I think, wouldn't you agree that a lot of times they pass right by us, and we may be reading the Miami Times, and you'll see something there that was a legitimate news story 2 or 3 days ago that we could have done on the air. But then, of course, we also get a lot of calls that aren't very legitimate, and folks shouldn't get angry with us if we can't fit them in, because sometimes we don't set the schedules, and sometimes the assignment editor just will not have a place in the show for that. Especially at Channel 6, we only have 1 newscast. So I would reiterate Denise's comment that we should hear from you, and that's the only way that we can know what we can do for you, and what you don't like and what you do like. Thank you.
I'm late, but I think I've already been chastised. My mother was here, and she got up and walked out when she heard I was going to talk. Well, you know, sitting here with this group, it's very interesting. I feel embarrassed, number one, because I came in late, which I can't blame on the newsroom. But, you know, I know I've read a couple of articles on some of these people up here, and they all got started in different ways, but seem to have gotten to the point that they wanted to be, or where they are now, a little bit faster than I did. Was to not work very hard. And there was a gentleman in my neighborhood, a man who, I guess, honored me by letting me be the first young man to date his daughter. He was a retired colonel in the Army. And every time I went over to his house, I saw a man who had gone into the Army for a number of years and served his country well, and saved his money and bought a lot of property, and didn't seem to have to go to work. He was always the one that was taking us to any affairs we were going to. And he was a comparatively young man. I thought, well, that's what I want to do. You know, when I'm 45 or 50, come out and do nothing. And I decided, well, I'm going to go into the service for 25 years. I'd always wanted to be a pilot. I always wanted to fly, so I thought I'll go into the Air Force or something and learn how to fly. This is a redneck town, folks. I was told by one of the people when I walked in the door, and this is not a lie, you are 2 years too late. And I said, what do you mean I'm 2 years too late? He said, well, 2 years ago, we would have been glad to hire you. We've been waiting for you to walk through this door because that's when the wave of blacks were coming into television. I said, well, 2 years too late. And the next guy I talked to was obviously laughing at me because he said, what do you want to do? And I said, my friend had said, ask for traffic. And there is a position in the station called traffic. They know. It is not where you would want to be. I don't want to put the traffic, I hope there are no traffic people in here, but it is a glorified secretary's position with a hell of a lot of work. I mean, when I say glorified, it is a hell of a lot of work, and you get paid lower than a secretary. I mean, it is an awful position to have in the station. And I didn't find that out till I got into business. Well, I got sick. I was up in Nashville working. I got sick, and I thought, they would have positions open and close and open and close. And finally, once I went in, I said, the next one should be mine. Well, there was one more person who was legitimately ahead of me, and he got the position. Then I got on the montage as a producer reporter. And I did that for 4 seasons. I'd actually been with the program for 7, but I did it full-time for 4 seasons. And then just last August, after having done that for quite a while, a lot of changes happened down at Channel 4. We became Channel 14 when we stole a lot of people from Dwight Station, and they came over and started running our place. And about black community, they need to be told. And it is, I can tell you, with an anecdote, it is necessary to have the black in the boardroom. It is necessary to have the black in the meeting, or the woman, because the things that go on when you're not there need to be heard. Things change. That's why they don't want us there, because things change. I remember once in a meeting, a man said that I don't want any Latins on my staff because they're too loud. Now, when I got upset with him, he could not understand it. Well, I was upset because I grew up in the South, and I know white folks. And I know if I wasn't there, it would have been said about black folks. So we're needed here. We can only function with your support. And we would love to have it. Thank you.
Of all the years I've known him, I have never heard the whole story until today. And it is a good story. I'm always thinking I know people in the audience. Whenever I go to some place, I meet so many people, and I guess I had a birthday Tuesday, and I guess maybe I've had a little early Tuesday, but I always think I know somebody, and I keep looking at a man in this audience. Excuse me, sir, what is your name?
Howard Cochran.
Yes, I know him. Thank God I'm not coming to see him now. This is the father of one of our reporters at the Miami Herald, Michael Cochran, and he's visited us from Detroit. And I understand from Michael, you are planning on moving here?
Well, there's a chance, perhaps.
Well, good, we hope so. And welcome to sunny Miami, which has turned like the cold Detroit city that you're from. We're going to open this up now for questions and answers. Denise, but I have to say something about Denise. You look absolutely pretty with your braces. Oh. I had braces, but I had the conventional type, the big brackets, and I just got out of them a few months ago, and I'm real happy about that. So I can't wait. Just think how much more gorgeous you're going to be. That's what it is. Anyway, it's up to you now.
Details, and we'll take it from there. Now, if it is, as you mentioned, a community event, something that is coming up, we'll actually go through the same process in terms of calling the newsroom and getting in touch with the assignment editor. Now, don't be put off if they sound rushed and hurried, and don't feel as if they don't want to communicate with you. That is not true. First of all, they are rushed and hurried. I mean, there's scanners going on in the background, there are telephones ringing, there are people walking back and forth, 2 and 3 people talking to this guy at one time, so a lot is going on. So basically, just let them know something is coming up, and they will immediately say, well, send me a letter. and do that. And basically in that letter you want to tell what's going on, when, where, what time, give directions where it's going to be happening, tell who the people are that's going to be there, basically, what it is about, include all that in the letter, and then the date that it is supposed to happen, you can give a quick call, just to remind you that this is going to be going on. Just say that. I just want to make sure that you have our press release, which is what it is that you will be sending, and then you can just say, well, would you just check and make sure that you have it, and they can go and do that for you. Now, they're not going to guarantee you that they're going to be there. This is Miami. Things happen all the time. We have a limited number of crews, and everything sort of works on a priority basis. I mean, that's how many times have each of us been on stories and all of a sudden been pulled off to go and cover a breaking news.
Decision is made, starting in the morning, and then usually this same group meets a couple of times in the afternoon. And that's how they decide what goes on the air. By answering that question, how many people does this particular event affect? So what Denise says is true in terms of they're not going to make any promises. Part of it is to tell you about the things that are going on around you. So that's why, we often get the complaint, all the news is bad. Well, don't kill the messenger. We're simply messengers. We simply show you what's going on around you every day. We're not responsible for it.
On it, I blinked my eye and it was over. That's a problem that will happen from time to time. As Dwight told you and Denise told you, it depends on the importance, how many people it affect. Yes, we still may cover it, but it may start out a minute and a half wrap, which is a reporter package. We can go see the report.